Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. One of the stocks that I have started to buy in 2023 is Airbnb. I think this is just a phenomenal business long term. It's really starting to mature and show the power that it has in the marketplace. On top of that, it has nearly $20 billion in cash. So as interest rates have increased, the company's cash generation just from that cash sitting on the balance sheet has just been a phenomenal boost to the bottom line. But today I want to talk about the market advantages that Airbnb has, because the ultimate potential of this company is being a platform that continues to grow, that's very difficult to disrupt. It's a two-sided market, and that should lead to very high margins and very big scale for Airbnb. This is already a very big company, but I think the potential is at least 10x more from here. My name is Travis Hoyam. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all of my content. And thanks to this video's sponsor, The Motley Fool. Check out fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. And the first thing to understand about Airbnb is that this is a two-sided market. A two-sided market is where you have to attract both customers and suppliers. So in the case of Airbnb, if they don't have people posting rooms and homes for rent on their platform, then they're not going to have customers. If they don't have customers, they're not going to have people putting homes and rooms on their platform. So you kind of have to have both to exist at all. And the hard part is really getting that business to spin up. But once it does, it can be a virtuous cycle, what's called a network effect. And that's that more supply leads to more demand, which leads to more supply, which leads to more demand. And this just keeps going on over and over again. Great examples of companies with network effects: Microsoft with PCs. Once PCs started to proliferate, you attracted more developers. That led to more software that people wanted to use and more users of PCs and more developers on PCs. And the Mac was actually a distant second place because it had a much smaller ecosystem, a much smaller platform. Something like Unix was even smaller than that. So that's the kind of business that we're talking about here, is a two-sided market with network effects. Now, there are a number of advantages for a two-sided market. One is that it tends to lead to a winner-take-all market. If you think about it, there's a lot of competition in the hotel and travel space with companies like Expedia and Booking.com, very interested in getting into a business like Airbnb is in. So why does Airbnb have such a market advantage? And that's because they have the suppliers. They have people building homes to be vacation rentals for Airbnbs. I'm building an Airbnb. It's something that I see people talk about on Twitter very often. They're not talking about building a Vrbo or a home that they can post on Booking.com. Those are competitors to Airbnb, but they don't have the same network effects. So as a result, if you have more scale, that means you can leverage that scale and generate better margins. You see that with Airbnb's margins as they have grown up as a company and increased revenue. More and more of that revenue is flowing to the bottom line, because this is, at the end of the day, a digital company. It's a very capital light business, can operate in the cloud. And it also just so happens to be a business that got very efficient during the pandemic. You might remember in 2020, when the pandemic started, Airbnb actually had to raise money. It was still a private company at that point. They had to raise money because they refunded deposits for people who were canceling all of their trips. So customers wanted their money back. Homeowners were actually counting on those customers to come in. So Airbnb tried to fill that gap where they could, create goodwill for both consumers and their suppliers. Remember, you want to keep that network effect going. So that was the real challenge. They cut about 25% of their workforce, but now coming out of the pandemic, they've become a much more efficient company. That's why you see that free cash flow starting to churn out from Airbnb as it grows. So as companies like Meta talk about this year being the year of efficiency, well, for Airbnb, 2020 was the year of efficiency, and now we're starting to see fruits from those changes right now. Another thing that I don't think a lot of people appreciate about Airbnb's business is that they have what's called a negative cash conversion cycle. This means that they bring in cash before that cash gets spent. So when you sign up for an Airbnb, let's say you're going to go for a stay a year from now, you're going to put a deposit down right now but Airbnb isn't going to actually pay that money to their supplier, to the homeowner, until a year from now, until they actually provide that service. So, what does that money do in the meantime? Well, it just sits on Airbnb's balance sheet collecting interest. So, now that interest rates are over 5% in a lot of cases, Airbnb can just collect interest on nearly $10 billion of deposits that's just sitting on their balance sheet. This is a phenomenal benefit from a business like this, is that it doesn't take cash to run up front. You can actually run your business with the cash that customers are leaving with you in the form of a deposit. That's called a negative cash conversion cycle. The faster you grow, the more cash you have on your balance sheet. Airbnb has a number of options of what to do with that. They can just let that cash sit there, collect interest, generating nearly $1 billion a year in interest right now, or they could buy back stock. They could acquire competitors, or they could invest in new businesses. This is the final thing that I wanted to talk about. Once you have scale in one of these network effect businesses, you can now start to move into adjacent markets. I don't think Airbnb is going to move into the hotel market, but they could move into the experiences market. They could tie in with some other suppliers. Let's say, I think something like having an Airbnb stocked with groceries when you show up would be a phenomenal value add if you have ever used an Airbnb and had to go grocery shopping. But there are a number of different adjacent markets that Airbnb could move into. They've actually talked about doing that. The past year, they've spent a lot of time and money reworking some of their technology stack. I think that's one of the things when they came public that a lot of investors didn't realize is that they were kind of falling behind on their technology stack. So CEO Brian Chesky has said that the last year that they have spent a lot of time and energy improving that, and that will give them the flexibility to move into other markets in the future. So there are a few growth avenues. They can grow into other areas of supply, smaller rooms, more unique stays. They can grow into more international markets. That's one thing that Chesky is really excited about. And then the third thing is moving into adjacent markets, experiences, other services. I think that's where we're ultimately going to see even more growth. This is the kind of company that has almost unlimited growth potential because of the power of the business and the brand. Once you have a company that is a verb in a two-sided market, it's very difficult to disrupt that. And Airbnb's financials show just how powerful that business is. So this is how the company builds market advantages. It's very difficult. It happens over a long period of time. But once you have those users, once you have those suppliers, they oftentimes aren't going to go anywhere and search out somebody else, move to a competitor like Booking.com or Vrbo on Expedia. They're going to stay with you at Airbnb. And I think that is and that is one of the things that makes this such an exciting investment opportunity. Add to it the negative cash conversion cycle, the opportunity to grow into new markets, and the cash that's sitting on the balance sheet. And I think this is one of the top stocks to own right now. But what do you think about Airbnb? Love to hear your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing, everybody. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you here next time.